If you're spending money, you should be budgeting. But one of the excuses that I hear the most is, Chris, I can't budget. My income changes from week to week or month to month. How am I supposed to budget if I have no idea how much money is coming in each month? Today, I'm going to show you how you can budget even if you have an irregular income. Welcome back to MyFiMap, the one-stop shop for your financial independence journey. My name is Chris, and I'm here to teach you everything that you need to know about financial independence, from budgeting to investing to automating your finances and more. That sounds like something that you'd be interested in? Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss a thing. So you have an irregular income. Maybe you're in sales or some other commissions-based job. Or maybe you're a photographer or some other events-based vendor. Maybe you work a part-time job, or your hours fluctuate wildly from week to week. Or maybe your base rate is a little bit low and you're depending on fluctuating overtime hours to cover your expenses from month to month. If your income is changing from week to week or month to month, it can feel almost impossible to budget. How do you know how much to plan for if you're going to make $7,000 one month and then nothing the next? The instability and irregularity can feel overwhelming. I mean, what's the point of trying to set up a standardized budget if every month you're going to have to start from scratch anyway? You might as well just keep going, living your life the way that you always have. If that's you, if any of those things that I just said resonate with you, I get it. But if taking charge of your finances and ensuring that you have a future of financial success is important to you, then you need to be budgeting. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. The secret to budgeting an irregular income is that you need to simulate having a stable one. As with all budgeting, you need to start by tracking your expenses. There are three main ways that you can track your expenses. You can manually track them, but this is often time consuming and it's easy to forget when you sent your friend $12 on Venmo for lunch. Most banks offer spending summaries based off of your debit or credit card transactions. The only problem with this is that your expenses are often poorly categorized. The categories are often too broad, or your varied transactions through Amazon are often lumped together as book sales, or maybe the categories are just straight up wrong. The third way to track your expenses, and my personal favorite, is using Mint.com. You safely and securely link all of your account information, and then it automatically tracks your expenses. Mint categorizes your transactions, but you can always go in and customize your categories and move transactions from one category to another later. When you first create an account, Mint goes back and populates 3 months of data so that you can see your income and expenses for the last 3 months. Now that you have your expenses tracked, we're going to go through and create something I like to call the hierarchy of expenses. Basically, you go through and identify what is the most important expense. If you had only enough money to pay for one thing, what would you pay? And then the next most important, and the next most important, etc., until you've gone through all of your expenses. For example, you should probably prioritize rent and food and gas before going to the movies or grabbing drinks with friends. Now that you've tracked expenses and you have an idea of which expenses are most important, it's time to actually get down to budgeting. You have a couple of different options. One of the most popular styles of budgeting is called YNAB. It's a zero-based budget, which means that you start at zero and then you choose how you're going to allocate your income each month. A key part of the YNAB budgeting system is to set aside a small portion of your income each month until you're able to live off of last month's income entirely. Once you're living off of last month's income, you're able to set up your budget because you know exactly how much you have to work with. The other way that you can budget with an irregular income is using something called a hill and valley fund. Essentially what you do is you build the budget around your average expenses. When you have a month where you have extra income, you set it aside into a separate account. And when you have a month where you're short, you take from that other account to kind of level out the hills and valleys of your income. There will be months where you're short and your hill and valley fund will be empty. That's where the hierarchy of expenses comes in. You're going to use this hierarchy to direct your income at the highest priority expenses. Ideally, this means that you're trimming out some of your fund money. If you're way short and your high priority expenses are at risk, that's when you're going to dip into your emergency fund. If you don't have enough money in your emergency fund to cover the top priorities, as a last-ditch effort, you can tap into your credit cards or other loan options. Now that I've explained the theory, I thought it'd be helpful to go over a few different examples. In the first example, we're going to say that you're a part-time wedding photographer. In some months, you're going to make $6,000 easy. In other months, you're going to make nothing. How do you budget with that? You've opened up a new account on Mint.com, and you see that your expenses average $2,500 a month. You're going to build your budget around that $2,500. When you have a $6,000 month, you're going to keep $2,500 for this month's expenses and set the additional $3,500 in a separate account for when you have those lean months. In the second example, we're going to say that you work part-time or you have fluctuating work hours. You average anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500 a month. You opened your account on Mint.com, and on average, you find that you spend $1,500 a month. How are you supposed to create a Hill and Valley fund if your highest income months are the ones that barely cover your expenses? In this situation, we're going to take a two-pronged approach. In the first, we're going to try to cut down your expenses, and in the second, we're going to try to increase your income. As you're trying to cut down your expenses, consider chasing after the big wins first. Housing expenses often account for one of the largest chunks of our income. If you're not already, have you considered living with roommates? If you notice that you're spending a lot of money eating out, maybe it's time to start cooking more. Is there a way to drive less and spend less on gas and other auto expenses? Maybe you can bike to work or take public transit or carpool with a coworker. On the other hand, we need to try to increase your income, even if it's only temporarily. This might mean asking for more hours at work. You might need to find a second job. Maybe you'll work as a barista or a grocery store clerk. Just today I was at AutoZone and they're hiring full-time and part-time employees, so the type of job is really up to you. If neither of those things are options, maybe it's time to consider trying to find a better paying job. And lastly, if you need a quick infusion of cash, it's time to start going around your place and finding things that you don't use, don't need, and put them on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or something like that. The last word of advice, if you're in this kind of a situation, is to really focus on not overspending your paychecks. You're going to hold really tightly to the hierarchy of expenses as you work to get your income up. Starting your Hill and Valley fund isn't easy unless you happen to be starting in a high income month. It might take a while to build up to the point where that fund is able to stabilize your income completely, but if you stick to it, you can get there. And don't forget that taking on an extra job or selling things that you don't need are a great way to temporarily boost your income and jumpstart your Hill and Valley fund. If you liked what I had to say, hit the like button and consider sharing this video with a friend. If you're interested in learning more ways on how to manage your finances and secure your financial future, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss upcoming videos. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.